All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have Misty joining me. We're going to talk about so many incredible things that are so helpful for you on your journey. And she is actually a trauma recovery coach and transformational life coach. Now, if you're not sure what that is, don't worry. We're going to jump into it. She specializes in mindset, visualization, and preparing people for mental what ifs. She helps clear the slate from previous birth experiences and creates a vision for your next birth experience. Now, fun fact about her, in her teenage years, she detasseled corn in Nebraska to make money. Like, I don't even know what that is, but that sounds like so much fun.
It is not fun.
Okay, well, I'll stay away from that then.
Like anyone who heard that who has ever detasseled just like had a response. It's literally getting up at 4 in the morning, catching a bus, going out to a cornfield, pulling part like the tassel part out of the corn, each stalk for like a half mile down the row and half mile back. And you do that till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. In Nebraska, it's hot and humid. I lost both of my pinky nails doing it and my toenails, like on like my pinky toenails, because it's just so much manual labor. So it's
Wow.
not
Okay,
fun.
not fun, not fun
But
at
it taught
all.
me hard work ethic, and that's what I needed when I was a teen.
Absolutely. I feel like we all do need some kind of hard work aspect.
So it's like any job I've had after that has been roses. Every job after
Yes,
that's been so easy.
I bet. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to jump into this topic. So, what brought you to being a trauma recovery coach and, all of the other things that you do now?
Yeah. Okay. So I was a doula for 15 years, and that was when I had like little kids and I was homeschooling. And I just really loved birth because I had my first baby and I had a wonderful birth experience. Then I had my second baby, and it was just as great. Like I had taken the Bradley method. My husband and I just really enjoyed our experience, but then I got to talking to friends and they were like, yeah, my birth experience wasn't like that. I didn't like it. Like I felt like I was pushed into doing something, or it ended in a way I didn't like. And so that got me thinking. I was like, I feel like I could help people out, but like, is there a formal way to do that? And so I got certified as a doula. I think it was in 2008. And then was attending births. And as this was happening, I had more kids. I have 5 kids now. And then my kids were growing up, and it wasn't so easy just to like pick up 5 kids and transport them to the babysitter when I had to go to a birth. Like everything just got a little bit more complex. There was like more sports going on and extracurriculars. And so it just started to kind of complicate being a doula. But what I noticed kind of during that time too is like when I was sitting at kitchen tables with couples and we were talking about what was supposed to be the birth plan, we were really talking about like how they wanted to parent, like what they were bringing in from their childhood or visions that they had as a parent against like their spouses. And like that's the kind of stuff I love to figure out with them. And I was like, okay, I love that part of it. It's getting harder to go to births. What can I do? And I was like, oh my gosh, life coaching is similar, but you get to drop the births. And that's kind of like how this started to unfold back in 2020. And so I got to continue to do the work of helping people in all capacities, not just birth, and then get to be more present for my family at this life stages they were at. So that's kind of like the longer, shorter version of how I became a trauma recovery coach.
I love that. And, like we kind of touched on before we started recording, there can be so much trauma that is accumulated from even, like you just said, like childhood. And then
Mm-hmm.
childhood obviously translates into adulthood, and then it translates into your pregnancy and then as a parent. So, how do you kind of help work with clients if they're trying to learn how to navigate through trauma and say it was a previous pregnancy or something? That they have trauma that they're trying to resolve or heal through. What would you start with for them if they are now subsequently pregnant again?
Yeah, well, first of all, I love to just have them tell me their story, like their unfiltered story, not the way they think they're supposed to tell it or the way they're supposed to be grateful, because I think that there's a lot of that going on in the world of like, well, you have your baby and you're healthy and your baby's healthy. And then that kind of like mutes and suffocates the actual story. So I love to just start with like, tell me the story. Like whatever you want to share. And like that usually breaks open the sections of the story that I know as a coach that like, okay, like in a subsequent call, we're going to like go into that part of the story. We're going to go into that part of the story, because once they can tell their story in a way that doesn't evoke so much emotion, we know that we have cleared the story. But so I'm looking in that first story of like, where's the emotion? Where do they feel guilty, or where is their shame, or where's they don't feel like they were good enough, or like they could have tried harder. That's a big one of like, especially especially for people with VBACs, like if I just would have tried harder. In a lot of cases, that's not true because I was at a lot of births as a doula where they were pushing for 5, 6 hours unmedicated, and there was nothing else they could have done to try harder. And so, kind of like voicing, like finding out where they feel like they didn't do enough and like unraveling that. So, I guess like finding the places that need to be untangled and working through those one at a time. And it's very different for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously, a lot of different, potentially hard emotions are going to be coming up once you start talking about this. So, how do you navigate that with somebody who you can tell like the emotion is just pouring out of them once they start talking about this experience, or if they feel like they failed, quote unquote, they failed? Because nobody ever fails if they have a repeat
Mhm.
cesarean. I just hate that word. But
Mhm.
how do you navigate that if they are just overwhelmed with emotion and they don't know how to move forward from it?
Well, I think it's important to give space to that emotion because I know a lot of people, and like I call it the civilian world, we try for our own comfort, we try to shut down emotion. It's like, oh, I got to say something to make them feel better. Like, you didn't fail, right? But then they haven't ever been able to like cry that all the way out. So I don't mind the crying or like the very emotional things. Like that is healing. Like it has to be released for the body. So I hold space for that, which is a fancy word for I don't interrupt it. I don't try to make things or say things to make it go away. I witness the pain that they're in, which is important. And then when they're ready to, we call it in the coaching world, process that emotion, I'll ask them, like, okay, so like, where do you feel that in your body? Like, we'll go into somatics of like, okay, so maybe it's like guilt or regret. It's like, we'll find out where they feel that. How does it feel? We may even, as weird as it sounds, we may talk to that feeling. And usually I always tell people like any emotion is just a messenger. So that is coming to tell you something. And once we stop to listen to whatever message it is, we take that information and it's always so healing. It is so healing. Like just people, like just last week, I had a woman who was talking about regret, and we found out what the message was from regret. And regret was just worried she'd make another mistake. And we're like, oh, like we can speak to that because she already knew she was never going to make that mistake again. And like we kind of worked through that. And by the end of the call, regret was gone. So it's like we just work through the emotions. It's really not that scary if you have a guide.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important that you say that because a lot of times I feel like I can just do this alone. I can just figure this out by myself. And
Mhm.
although, yeah, maybe you can by watching all these YouTube videos, going on Google and all that kind of stuff, but to have somebody who is like you and is a professional, you've gone through this many, many times, you have training specifically for this, it
Mhm.
is very much valuable to find somebody like that, that you can just feel like you are comfortable, that you can
Mhm.
actually release all of this, just let it flow out because I think also a lot of times, like when I am supporting VBAC clients, it's almost like they want me to, and this is not everybody, but it's like they want me to save them. They want me
Mhm.
to be that buffer. They want me to make the decisions for them. And it's like, whoa, whoa, I can't do that for you because then I feel like I'm then taking away their power still, like they felt like before, because now I'm just another person that's here going to make decisions for them. And,
Mhm.
we can't save anybody. We have to just let them feel into their emotions and hold that space for them. And, I've had moms in my arms sobbing,
Mhm.
crying so where their body is shaking because it so deeply hurts. And then
Mhm.
afterwards, after they let that freely come out of their body, they feel so much better. Not to say that they're fully healed, because I don't feel like we're ever truly fully healed. Like we are always on a healing journey, and it takes time to feel through those emotions. And
Mhm.
pregnancy is such a sensitive time. Our hormones are all over the place. So, if somebody is feeling like, I just can't face this right now, like it is stressing me out, it's giving me anxiety. I just don't know how I'm going to process my previous trauma while I'm now pregnant. So if somebody's coming to you with that, what would be some good tips for them to try to navigate that situation?
First of all, I would tell them like right now is the best time when you're already pregnant because like you're more heightened to anything that's still trapped in your body from the previous experience. It's like when it's kind of far off or you're not pregnant, you can kind of still like fool yourself like it's not that big of a deal. It didn't really affect me, but like when you're in it, so like I always tell people it's the perfect time And I kind of see it as nesting. Like we do that anyway, right? We're going to clean like the baseboards and we're going to clean behind the toilet and we're going to get a toothbrush and like clean all these weird things. I'm like, okay, well, you can nest with your heart too. We're gonna take everything out. We're going to put it, like I tell them, we're going to put it across the bed and we're going to see like, what do you want to keep for this birth experience? What was really useful? What was the, what did you learn? What was the value? Put that back in, and all the other stuff we're going to get rid of. So it's great. You can also nest your heart.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think that is like the best analogy. And you're so right. It's like I remember cleaning like the ceiling fan and cleaning like it was so ridiculous. Like things that I don't even like consider like needing to clean. And we're doing all these things just to like nest and get ready for the baby. And instead of like mentally preparing ourselves for this
Mm-hmm.
journey of, giving birth, because I feel like it's just so raw. Birth is so
Mm-hmm.
raw and it opens us wide open. So whether or not you want to deal with it or not in pregnancy, I feel like it's going to come out anyways, like because during labor, you are just extra heightened to
Mm-hmm.
so many things, emotions, just sensory, things. So what if it starts coming out in labor? What if they have not processed it?
And I've been there for those. It's not good. That's why I just caution everybody, if you have the means to do it ahead of time, do it ahead of time. Because in the moment when you're in labor, it can, you know this, it can stall it can make it worse, it can make it more painful. You can question like the mind garbage that's going on of like, well, you can't do it, or like, why did you think that this was a good idea? Like all that stuff comes back because you didn't deal with it. But like if you dealt with it beforehand, that brain is clear, it's ready to receive the new experience. So it's like, if that happens and you're in labor, hopefully you have a great doula by your side that can like help absorb and help you process while that's happening, but it's not my recommendation.
Right, definitely not. So I know in the beginning, I talked about how you said that you kind of come along and like to help prepare people for the mental what ifs and help kind of like clear the slate. So what do you mean by that when you say that?
Okay, so what ifs? I love doing this, people. You have to be game. It's just like, okay, so what are all of the worst fears if you think this is gonna happen in your birth? And it's not just for VBAC people, it's just for anybody giving birth, even first time moms. Like we all hold something. We're like, oh my gosh, like what if my husband doesn't make it from home from work on time? Like what it like all the what ifs. So I'm like, okay, list out every single what if. Every single one. I want it to be exhaustive. I want it to be so small. It's like, what if my water breaks in the night and it gets all over my bed and I'm more worried about my mattress? Like, I don't care. Like, write it all down. Then we're going to go through every single what if and solve it. Every single one. And there's going to be a plan. So then your brain's going to be like, oh, crap, we've solved every what if. Now what do I want to worry about? And then we just go all down the line until it's all clear. So sometimes that can take like a session. Sometimes that can take 3 sessions. Sometimes there's something really big, like what if I'm pushing for 5 hours and the baby doesn't come out? And then we work through that. And sometimes that can take a whole session. But by the time we're done, they know their mind's strong about if that happens, this is what I'm going to do.
Yes, I
Because the
love
what
that.
ifs will eat you alive until you come at the what ifs with a plan. When you have a plan, the what ifs die.
Yeah,
And
I
I
love
always
that.
tell people, and I've seen this over and over again as a doula, most of, like almost none of the what ifs ever come true. It's like the things we never even thought to think about.
Hmm.
Like, what if your husband's always around, he's driving you crazy, and you don't go into labor because your husband's driving you crazy? Like, you were worried about him being gone and not making it in time.
Yep.
So I think it just helps. The what ifs, like, once those are tackled, it all becomes a little bit easier inside of your body.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you do this. I actually do this because I have a Journey to VBAC membership. And so in my membership for VBAC Hopeful Moms, I literally do like almost exactly this practice because I feel like when you bring that fear to the surface, it no longer feels like this taboo or like
Mhm.
something that you're so afraid of happening and you just can't think about it, you just can't talk about it, but just bringing it out in the open and not making it like a shameful or guilt-driven thought, it's so helpful to just clearing that out of your body because I think people don't realize
Mhm.
like so many things like fear, stress, it
Mhm.
literally lives in our cells and it can actually actualize in physical like
Mhm.
pain and stuff like that. So it's so important to clear that out of the body. And is that something that you work with your clients with?
Yeah, like fear hates a plan. So as soon as we have a plan, fear goes, like the whole body relaxes. So great.
Yeah. And so I also mentioned that you do visualization. So what is your type of visualization work that you do with clients?
Yeah, so I have them like once like I don't start with this, but like we clear out like we do the heart nesting, we do the what if. So like we're working through all the fears first and like once I feel like the palette is kind of clean, then it's
Mm,
like okay, like tell me the story of this birth and make it as wild as you want and as perfect as you want. And so I have them tell it to me as if it's happened everything is just magical. And then after they've told me, like we kind of talk about it, we highlight the parts that were really cool. And then that's their homework is they're going to do that every single day. They're going to visualize like when they go into labor, how they felt, what they were thinking, how they got to the hospital or their home birth or whatever, like who was there, like do they remember seeing them smile, like all of those little pieces, because it's proven with science that if the brain visualizes it, it doesn't know if that was real or not.
mhm.
So why not ahead of time create the perfect birth experience that your body at a cellular level will remember when it goes into labor?
Exactly. Exactly. And I actually do this with my clients too. And I tell them to pull all of your senses into this visualization.
Mhm.
Literally, what are you smelling? Are you smelling
Mhm.
lavender that's diffusing out of the aromatherapy machine?
Mhm.
are you feeling the touch of your husband on your, rubbing your shoulders? Like, what do you see? And just like pulling everything in. What are you hearing? Are you hearing your affirmations that are going on in the background or your playlist that you created? Like, and I feel like it's so transformational to do that. Like, I literally did that in my last birth, and literally exactly how I visualized it, it literally happened exactly that way.
Yes. Yes.
It's incredible. Our mind is so powerful, so much more powerful than we give credit to. And I love to always give, like, I mean, always, not always, because the facts are not always correct or should always be focused on. But I feel like with this, people think visualization is so like woo woo or,
Oh yeah.
so hippie or whatever. But there's legitimate science backing
Yeah.
this. So, oh
Well,
my
and I was like too, I'm kind of like that too, like where it's like back in the day, I was like, oh, like that sounds really fishy. But then you think about it, people are spending so much time visualizing their birth going bad, like their husband not making in time, them pushing for 5 hours, the wrong doctor being there, like the nurse that's mean. They spend time thinking about that. That's the same thing. You're visualizing it. That's now in your body. So it's just like if you're thinking about it that way, why not take the mental energy to think about it the other way? Because it's true on both ends. We just don't necessarily think it's true when we think about things negatively.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. And it can even go beyond the birth because you can visualize like your postpartum experience. I mean, I feel like we
Yeah.
always focus so much on like the birth, which don't get me wrong, the birth is absolutely important, but like the postpartum season lasts so much longer. And you always hear,
Mhm.
I don't know what it is, but we are always like with women, we're like, oh, just wait until you get there. And it's like, how about we just like help prepare them and give them the
Right.
tools to help set them up for a better postpartum than we might have had?
Yeah, that's you bring up a really good point that like we don't spend a lot of time thinking about how can we also make our postpartum really magical? How can we create like this cozy nest? How can we take care of ourselves? Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah. And so how do you work with your clients like how does this because we talked about like how you go through kind of like this step-by-step process. So by the time your clients go through this step-by-step process, then where do they go from there? Do they just continue to see you weekly? Because I mean, I always suggest if people can continue on the path that they're going and not just stop once they feel in the moment like, oh, I feel great. Like I'm just gonna drop you. Like I don't need you anymore.
Yeah, you know what I like to do if I can like start with them like 3 months or so before the birth, like this is all loose, and then work with them so more frequently before the birth, getting ready for it, and then 3 months after the birth, but like space them out a little bit more because there's you and I both know because we've had babies, there's a lot going on postpartum. Even if you've had a great birth experience, like the hormones are dipping, there's a new normal, there's not a lot of sleep, and having that person that you get to go to talk to like, okay, like I'm really not sleeping. My husband's really annoying me, like whatever the things are, and like making a plan instead of just like that tired resentment or like, oh, this is just the way it is. It's like being the creator of a really creative solution is worth the time. So that's kind of like how I like to do it.
Yeah, I love that so much. So, is there anything that you want to add to this conversation before we kind of wrap up? Because I feel like we have already given so much incredible information from your amazing expertise. But is there anything you want to leave the audience with that you feel like we haven't hit on that's really important?
I just want to speak to the person who's listening to this, who's just like, yeah, like that probably works for other people, but like not for me. Like I'll probably just always have kind of crappy birth experiences, or like like the person's like, well, you don't get my story. Like I live in a small town and there's only one doctor. Like I definitely want to speak to those people. Like mind over matter. Like you are the controller of your life. You do have the space to create some more positive results. Like don't count yourself out, because if you're the first to count yourself out, then everyone else has counted you out. If you show up as the authority in your life of like, this is what I want, I'm going to scan to get it, you will have so much more success. I mean, thinking about like this woman, she lived in Wyoming. I live in Colorado. She wanted a VBAC experience, and she like looked at her surrounding areas. She's like, nope, 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 nope. I will drive myself to Colorado to have the birth experience I want. Granted, I know not everybody can do that, but like that kind of fire and spirit inside of yourself, it might manifest a different way, but just having that authority of like, I will do what I need to do to have the birth that will help me. So I think that's the last thing I wanted to say for the person who's like, that's not for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is just a great point to drive home because, for so long, like it took me three births, three cesareans before I was like, no more. Like,
Yes.
I cannot go through this anymore. It was just devastating. The trauma was building, and it was like, if I have another cesarean or I feel powerless at another birth, I will scream, I will explode. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's not going to be something good. And so I personally had to change everything that I did.
Mhm. Yeah.
Everything. Instead of just being passive and going through the system that I was put into, I actively took charge of where I gave
Yes.
birth. I changed insurances, took a different hospital, and hired a doula. I hadn't done that before and just did literally everything different. And my outcome was different. Now,
Yes.
it does take that sometimes. And I get, like you said, like not everybody has the financial ability to hire a doula. Not everybody has the capability to change insurances, maybe. I don't know if they're in a really small town, but doing something different than you did before is already changing how your next birth is going to be. So just take those
Yes.
little baby steps. It might not feel like it's making a lot of change, but it does. It definitely
Well,
does.
even that one, like even when you make one small change, it changes who you are on the inside. You start to take yourself more seriously. So I think that your story is a great example of what we're talking about. Because what you said at the beginning is like something lit up inside of you. And that's what I'm talking about. When you get that burning in your chest of like, no more. And that's what I'm talking about. Like you have to have that come alive. And when yours came alive, man, you were a wrecking ball. It was perfect.
Yes, absolutely. So I just want to give whoever is listening so much love and compassion for your
Mhm.
journey because I get it. It's not always an easy, picture perfect, Instagram worthy journey. It can be so hard. There can be so many tears, so many doors closed in your face, but you can do it. Like if
Mhm.
we can just do it and come together as people supporting other people, women supporting women, we can do this. And if you don't have the physical ability to reach out to or connect with women, get online. Like we have so
Mhm.
much virtual support. Like you're in Colorado, I'm in
Mhm.
California, like and we're able to connect with each other. So I always invite women like if you just want to talk, if you just want to message me, get on Instagram and send me a direct message. Like, I'm so happy to talk to anybody, we need that community. We just need that
Mhm.
community.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point. It's not always about financial resources. Sometimes it's just about being resourceful. Like what human can I connect to? Like what is the thing or the person that might have more information? It's not just always about like, hiring a doula with money or changing insurances with money. It's just like there's other resources. I'll say a
Absolutely.
lot of people are like they barter for different stuff. They are newer in the field, so they're willing to do it for low cost or free. So it's just like until you've actually exhausted it, don't tell yourself no.
Oh my gosh, Misty, thank you so much for everything that you have to offer this online community, your in-person community. You are such a valuable asset, and I so appreciate you coming on here and sharing your wisdom. And so if somebody wants to work with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
So the best way to get in touch with me is go to my Instagram, which is at Misty, Misty, life coach. And then there's like, you just DM me there, or there's like an application to work with me form in my bio. But that's like the best place. And also, just if you're not ready to work with me yet, just give me a follow. I would love that too.
Yeah, and everything's going to be in the show notes so you can easily click it and get in touch with Misty. Thank you again so much, and this was great.
You're welcome.
I hope you loved that episode as much as I loved creating it. And if you want to learn more, be sure to download your free VBAC resource guide for even more tips and advice at birthingcometrue.com/VBAC guide. And don't forget to subscribe to the Journey to VBAC so you never miss an episode. Until next time, trust in yourself and remember, you are amazing no matter how your birth unfolds. Bye for now.